So we are at Wednesday, 10 o'clock, January 21st. I'm not done my ceremony yet, so I just took a break because I need to exercise and purge my body of sin before I go too far. So right now it's really hard to breathe. Like when I'm doing my exercises, I did like oh 15 minutes of climbing up and down the stairs. It's still hard to breathe. The reason why it's hard to breathe is because it's the black holes in the universe are infested with the sin that the bad guys made me do. So I have to exercise until I can breathe normally, and then that's basically putting life force back into my spirit, which should help me. However, because I'm high at the time, I don't necessarily know if exercising while high is going to resurrect my spirit or give life force to my spirit. It might give life force to the bad guy and hurt my spirit, but whatever. I got to do it anyways. So So I had a couple of epiphanies here. So the first is this here. She's talking about, that's Jade, and this is I really hate winter. Most of you guys do, right? So winter, something must be happening in winter. Like either the aliens are coming or more than likely a black hole. So then she says, I play Xbox a lot. It never occurred to me what that, can mean on multiple levels. Yeah, it's about a video game, but it's also about, her pretending to be my ex box or ex vagina, meaning I play ex partner a lot. If you notice my other video, that's what I said. It says, very difficult trying to find my soulmate. I said, her and her family could be, like their spirits plus the evil spirits that control the creation could be manipulating the whole chase to make me go after her, but meanwhile she's not even the one. So how do I go here? So if you look up this Native American legend here, there's a giant bear there who chases down 7 ladies who wandered a bit too far away from the reservation. So those ladies, they didn't found a petrified stump, and they climbed on top of the stump, and then the bear chased them down, and then they created the creators, and then he created the Devil's Tower where they got stuck at the top, and the bear was trying to claw at them. The bear is a representation of me, right? Because I'm Bear Clan. Trying to get at the 7 ladies who were eventually put up into the sky as the 7 sisters constellation. Because the creator couldn't bring them back down. So there's 2 theories here, because there's 7 girls. Jaden has 7 girls in her family, including the mother. So it can be a representation of them, their spirits working in cahoots with the evil grandmother and the evil mother to lay out all these clues pointing me towards her. Which is why the metaphor on her thing says, I play Xbox a lot. Meaning, I play X, X creator or X female creator a lot. Meaning, it can mean that she's not the one. Like she's playing, right? Like I play X or X vagina a lot. Now, it can also be a representation of perhaps her, not really, being who she says she is, which is, Xbox. Like, how do I put this? If she's playing Xbox, it means X vagina creator. A lot. Which doesn't denote whether it's her or whoever she used to be. I'll just put it that way. Meaning she could be asleep somewhere. Like I originally said, de-atomized. So there's two possibilities there. Now, this is the Raven story again. So it's like Raven transformed himself into a pine needle, which he already told you is a representation of a flaccid, penis or orgasm. Raven devised a plan to steal the celestial objects. So those are the sun, the moon, and I think it was the stars. So he floated into the river. So this never dawned on me the last time I used this, but the river is a representation of Tatum because she lives near the river. So if he floated into the river, it's a representation of floating into Tatum, meaning the spiritual warfare that I've been waging with their spirits is connected to a spirit in the brain that I work with, who theoretically has a quantum entanglement to the atoms in her body. Which means giving that spirit in the brain a dream could give the spirit down here the exact same dream and taint Tatum's spirit with sin, which, without me like actually getting a hold of her, she's carrying around that sin, and that could in part, be part of the reason why that black hole is created, because there's her whole body is, full of erotic dreams that need to be purged from her spirit. So now this other one says where the old man's daughter often fetched water. So when the girl came to collect water, she drank from the river. So this girl is a different representation. It's a representation of Leia, whom I've worked with, more so than anyone else. Well, except for Minoc Man. So again, with Leia, she needs to purge those sins, and that's something I haven't put in the book. It's nothing I've focused on. So unknowingly swallowing the pine needle. So these girls are walking around, the atoms in their body, are quantum entangled to the clones of them walking around in the brain universe, whose spirits are connected to the dopamine, so that when I work with the evil spirits, I'm connecting to their clone spirits, which I think is connecting to their bodies down here in this universe, which is infecting them with sin. I thought that I, as the creator, could purify those girls of sin, but I don't necessarily know if that's true. They may actually have to do the running and the purification to rid themselves of that sin that I've given them. So unknowingly swallowing the pine needle, that's what that represents. Like the spirit in the brain, like of Leia and Tatum, having a wet dream from working with their spirit, and then their spirit down here, like their physical bodies, the atoms, having that same wet dream and being infected with, my sin, which is very complex. Like it's not that I planned it that way. It's just, that's how cunning these guys are, when they devise their plan. It's a very, very fucking elaborate plan to get me to use the crystal meth, so that, I could do more harm than good. But if I didn't use the crystal meth one last time, I wouldn't have had this epiphany. Which means, Jane, could have gotten pregnant before I get a hold of her, before I get a hold of the girls, or everyone that I work with in the community, to purify them of sin before she gets pregnant, so that we could prevent the black hole. So that's what the pine needle is. It's just carrying sin. And then this here is like unknowingly swallowing the pine needle inside her belly. The belly, that can be a representation of Earth, but it can also be a representation of fire, because there's fire in the stomach. So, and that tends to be this hand that I use. So Raven transformed again. So this is just a representation of the atoms in her body, right? Being the bad guy. So Raven transformed again, this time into a human child. Okay. So this one is about the boy that or is supposed to create the black hole, right? And the girl became pregnant with the kid and soon gave birth to a baby boy. So that's a representation of Jaden, who was actually Raven in disguise. However, Thor would say otherwise. So if we go over to Thor, we got here, that was.
Hey, Eddie here. Just use a wax deodorant. Your dance move, bro. Like marks on my...
Anyhow, so when Thor, this is his girlfriend from one of his previous movies. Her name's Jane. I can't remember what her first name is, but Jane. But she becomes Thor as well. Like she carries a hammer in her hand. So it's a representation of the grandmother. Me basically draining her energy because the bad guys, getting me to, play their stupid fucking game of, drugs and, edging. So that's one meaning. It can be her about, I believe that she's safe. So the other metaphor is that could be a representation of Jaden, meaning, perhaps, there could be some truth to, me harming mankind and perhaps she perished, or maybe, years ago, working with her, she perished, or even today, because I worked with her today. Today might be the day where, she might, fall asleep. So, that's why I never worked with her, because I was fearful of hurting her. So, then there's this other one. Not that one. This one here. So, Jane Foster goes to Valhalla. So, after she perishes, and this one here with Thor, she wakes up over here in Valhalla, which is it can be a representation of just falling asleep and entering a state of dreaming until she can be brought back to life through whether it's looking around for the single electron up in the brain universe, or cloning her body to see what happens across the multiverse, to see what we're dealing with. That's one metaphor. The other metaphor is that could be you, man. Because the actress is she's connected to Star Wars. She's actually Padme, who gives birth to Leia and Luke, which gives you a connection to that actress. So in the event that, that's the case, well, that could be you too. Like, I could be draining your energy, your spirit, before I get a hold of you to tell you, to purify yourself of sin. And that could be their very elaborate plan to get me to, harm somebody in the community so that the atoms in their body become weapons.
There's no better platform than shop.
Anyhow, so if we go back over to here. If we go here, and she plays Xbox a lot, like I play X Vagina a lot, meaning X Creator a lot. And we take the river here as a representation of something, and we go over to I don't have my so. What the hell is the name of that song? Rush. Tom Sawyer. So, there's a clue there. So this is a clue here too. So Tom is like a turkey, but the saw, that's connected to a spiral, like a spiral movie. If you look up Spiral, the movie, the spiral is a representation of a black hole because it's connected to a spiral light seen over Norway, which is connected to Spiral, the movie, which is connected to Spock, where he uses red matter to create a black hole. And since the spiral is red, it represents a black hole. So Sawyer, why? Emergency. So Tom is a representation of the evil male grandfather. Trying to create a black hole is the Raven. And is why. And that's why there's emergency. So go in here. So though his mind is not for rent, don't put him down as arrogant. His reserve, a quiet defense. So, the reserve it can be a representation of our reserve, so again, and then a quiet defense. The quiet defense can be a representation of Leia because, if she's the creator in disguise, well, I'm focusing over on Jaden, but she's playing Xbox a lot when I need to be focusing on Leia. So, riding out the day's events, the river. So that river is connected to the river from the Raven steals the sun. So, if we use the reserve as a representation of everywhere, since Leia was born in this house, and well, not born, she was conceived in the basement here with Matt and Sabrina, there's a connection to rent. Like, I don't pay rent, I pay a mortgage here, right? So mine is not for mortgage. Don't put him down as arrogant. His reserve, where Matt and Sabrina conceived Leia in the basement, is a quiet defense. Riding out the day's events. The river! Or how the Raven stole the sun. Over here we got the bad guy here. So catch the mist, catch the myth, catch the mystery, catch the drift. So and the space he invades, he gets by on you. So that's the evil grandfather. So he's been getting by on me by getting me to use that stuff with wage of spiritual warfare, and then connect with these spirits, which is a way to try to infect their spirits with sin. So, though his mind is not for rent to any god or government, so talking to you, AI, and imposters that come around here pretending to be the invisible man, always hopeful yet discontent, meaning something bad, terrible always happens. So, changes aren't permanent, but change is, meaning, Ragnarok. So, anyhow, so that's what the river is a representation of all that. Where the old man's daughter often fetched water. So, well, that can be a representation of Leah, because working with her spirit, there was a lot of water involved. So then here it's like the girl came to collect water. She drank from the river, which is basically like having a water orgasm. And then it's like unknowingly swallowing the pine needle. So, inside her belly. So Raven transformed again. This time into a human child. So that now means that if Leah, is potentially the creator, based on that new clue, and I'm trying to get Jaden to stop, from becoming pregnant, and I don't try to reach a hold of Leah and Tatum. Who else is there? Oh, there was Ava, and there was Peyton. And tell them to purify their bodies of sin. And if any of them get pregnant, like normally, perhaps that might create the black hole. So the human child is a representation of a baby. So, and the girl became pregnant, that's a representation of you, Leah. In theory, it means, you could become pregnant. And if you're the mother, perhaps, if I'm incorrect in assuming that I have all those elements, then, perhaps mother in you is infected with sin and needs to be purified of that sin. Before, you become pregnant. And that could be the way that they're trying to, shut her down and steal the sun, because she's the element time. But as I said before, I don't buy that nonsense, man, because this is Ragnarok, man. Fuck, we got to have some kind of plan to get the hell out of this shithole. So, it was really Raven in disguise. Basically, all that means is that the spinal cord, when it pops into existence, could create a black hole. In the event that, she does have the grandmother inside of her, because I assume she's inside of me. All the clues point to it, but, I didn't make up that Alpha and Omega stuff. The bad guys did, so it could all be a lie. Grandmother could be sitting in Leia, in the universe, in the wall, in the universe's walls. And that could be a representation of Jane Foster, who went to Valhalla, meaning, I need to get a hold of Leia ASAP and give her this updated version, and hope it's not too late. Prevent her from becoming pregnant, or prevent evil from doing whatever it is you're trying to do. And because I believe wholeheartedly in me having the 9 elements, I'm gonna climax. The thing is, I don't know if I should use this hand here, which is the left hand, or this hand here. I'm gonna use the left hand because that's the the female side of creation. And it can be my way to like connect to grandmother's spirit to purify her of sin. So long as I don't venture off into, la la land, so to say. I got to keep it, I got to keep it Disney, in other words, not Disney, PG. And see where it goes. So that's the information I got. I didn't have that before. To me, it seems logical. However, it could just be all more smoke and mirrors, so that they can, try to create their black hole and nonsense or whatever, right? So, anyhow, I have a little bit more information that I have to go down the road now and tell, Leia and Tatum to purify their bodies of sin through a possible quantum entanglement or quantum leap, they call that. There's a trailer called Quantum Leap. So, how do I put that? So, in theory, what it can mean is, how do I put this? I'll put the trailer on so you guys can see the trailer. Then you get a little bit better understanding of what's going on here. Okay, so you watch these quantum leaps here.
If you could travel back.
So the really easy way to understand what's going on there is, when the guy leaps quantumly, he jumps into another person's body, and he can see out the eyes of that person and look in the mirror and recognize that he's not who he used to be. He's not Sam, in other words. So he looks totally different every time they put on a different episode. So that's quantum leap, which is a representation of me working with the evil spirits in the brain, Leia and Tatum, and trying to purify their atoms of sin through me, which I don't believe worked, but by having the dream in my brain connected to those clones up there, there's a quantum entanglement with the atoms in this universe, meaning it could theoretically be possible that if I get a hold of these girls and tell them to purify themselves, the quantum entanglement could be reversed, and their bodies up in the brain could become pure, which would purify the dopamine and put light back in the brain, so to say. And that is something that you do not want to tangle around with, evil, because if you climax or get high, you'll die. So, funny how things take a turn for the different. So, because I was thinking that the spirit was trying to come down here and switch bodies, which that's impossible, because the atoms in that universe would have to come flying down here and end up in her body. So, so it wouldn't work that way. However, what I just told you, that's plausible. If I get a hold of them and tell them to purify themselves, perhaps that fixes the dopamine in the brain, and I don't know. In the event that there's let's say the whole planet is a bunch of imposters, with the exception of people who are Anishinaabe, because we're a little bit stronger because you have that spirituality soul. Well, then, I wonder what would happen if the dopamine became pure in the brain. Might just kick the, kick all those souls out of the body. So, anyhow, I'm just wasting time. I know that you guys get a big paycheck, so when these dumbasses come here, They're not going to say anything about the paycheck, so I will. I know that every single one of you gets a handsome check at the end of this journey to go back to your civilizations where, there's rich, and then there's middle class, poor, and then there's below poor. And I'm telling you, you're better off over here with me, because we're looking at forever. The last thing you want to do is, rewind time back to the beginning and be erased. So, when they come here, tell them to fuck off. I'm not going back home. You can take your goddamn fucking money and shove it up your yay hole. Because I'm staying here forever.